Greetings, Scribblers, Kent Sean here, and welcome to part 3 of my 5 Commandments of Story series. Today we're going to tackle how we build the conflict and tension required to keep those readers turning pages. The second commandment of story, progressive complications. But before we get into it, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring the notification bell so you don't miss one jumping jack in our rigorous literary workout. Scribblers, stories thrive on conflict. If our characters can get everything they want right off the bat, reading about them would be like watching paint dry.
This sucks.
So if we want readers to make it past page 1, we need to throw in some twists and turns. That means progressive complications.
My whole life is a progressive complication.
A progressive complication is an obstacle or an opportunity that our characters face as they pursue their object of desire. A complication can come from a lot of different sources. Our characters might meet new and interesting people, face catastrophic forces of nature, or learn that their psychiatrist is actually a cannibal.
Or you can have a little brother.
Progressive complications move the story forward, never backward. We cannot have our characters facing the same obstacles and information in Act 3 that they did in Act 1. We must design our story to have escalating obstacles and difficulties in every scene, act, and the global story. Design your complications to reveal character. Conflict is what makes our characters react. The better design the conflict, the more it's a challenge to the essential nature of the character. If my hero is having trouble with confidence, make him speak in public. If your heroine's afraid of change, drag her kicking and screaming into a brand new world. Don't peak your complications too early. I call this the Kung Fu dilemma. When we read or watch a story based around martial arts, we know we're in for some kicky, punchy action. And we really want to see some flying fists pretty quick before we get bored. Now the writer has a real problem. People want to see some fighting. And if every encounter has to grow in size and irreversibility, things can get pretty crazy by the climax. In Enter the Dragon, Bruce Lee starts off with a friendly sparring match with his student, progresses to a tournament bout with his sister's killer, and eventually gets into a nunchuck spectacular where he beats the crap out of about 50 people before getting captured. So now what? Bruce has already demonstrated he can beat the crap out of an army with his bare hands. How can the writers ramp up the tension for the climax? They do this brilliantly by adding in new elements we haven't seen before. In the final battle with the villain, Bruce has to deal with some unusual obstacles. A bunch of mirrors and a guy wearing Wolverine claw thingies.
So, what was the point of all that?
The screenwriter of Enter the Dragon, Michael Allen, trusted Bruce Lee to escalate the tension of the combat scenes in such a way that it didn't get boring, despite the fact that it's all really just punching and kicking. This is why straight action writing is hard. Action writers are stuck with trying to escalate the same old car chases and fight scenes that everybody's seen 1,000 times. I think that's why the scenes in the Fast and Furious franchise have gotten so ridiculous. They are simply running out of things to jump off of in a car.
Dumb! You can't jump off the space station!
Buckle up!
Stay away from random complications. They need to relate to the character's goals. This can be both internal goals and external goals. This focuses your story. If our hero is desperately trying to catch a fleeing villain and you mention that his bathtub needs regrouting, no one's gonna care. As the name progressive complication implies, the complications in each unit of story must raise the stakes. This is not to say that every minor complication in a scene has to trump every obstacle in the story. But whatever level you're diagnosing, a scene, an act, or the whole story, you must find a way not to go backwards to the same level of danger or heartache or whatever we were at before. Here are a couple tricks I've used in the past to up the stakes in the story. Add a time limit. 1 minute the hero thinks they have a week to save the day, and then it's 10 minutes. Another great one is to take away a tool or an ally that the hero was counting on to accomplish their goals. Both these tricks can really dial up the tension of a scene or the global story. When you can, make complications affect your protagonist on multiple levels. There are 3 kinds of conflict. First, extrapersonal, that comes from an outside source. Personal conflict, coming from another person or the antagonist.
This really sucks!
And internal conflict, coming from personal struggle.
I never learned to read!
If we can find a way to make our progressive complications affect our hero 2, maybe 3 levels deep, it will really ramp up the tension and have people getting in car accidents because they stayed up all night to read your story. Sorry. Last but definitely not least, progressive complications must build up to a turning point. What the heck does that mean? Hey, I'm only going to hit the high points on turning points because I'm going to do an entire video on them. Essentially, your complications build so the hero has to make a choice and change their current strategy. Sometimes they make an active choice, other times it's revelatory, meaning they learn new information that changes the game. The turning point progressive complication in Act 1 of Star Wars is when Luke comes home to find charred aunt and uncle on the family farm. All his excuses and rationalizations about leaving Tatooine are swept away, and we're off to the races. The same rules apply in a scene. In the Hunger Games, Katniss' sister is selected to go fight a bunch of other kids to the death.
Sounds like fun to me.
You got problems.
This changes everything. Now Katniss has to decide whether to let her sister take her chances in a battle royale or to volunteer herself. Progressive complications create turning points create crisis questions. More to follow on this in future videos.
Okay, let's sum this up.
A progressive complication is an obstacle or an opportunity our character faces while they're pursuing the object of desire. They should raise the stakes, be unique, challenge the character on multiple levels. They should relate to the protagonist's goals and build to a turning point. If you can come up with original and powerful complications for your beats, scenes, and stories, you are well on your way to kicking literary ass. Only days left to enter the awe-inspiring, cup-destroying, pencil-snapping, pen-draining, head-bowling, metaphor-making, sentence-spewing, cash reward-reaping short story competition of Doom. Video with all the details in the description, 5K words or less, cash prizes, what are you waiting for? Submissions close July 1st, winners announced August 1st. Thanks for watching. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring the notification bell. You can follow me on Instagram or Twitter, and please come visit my website, kentshawn.com. Till next time, Scribblers, butts in seats, fingers on keyboards.
Boo!
That's disturbing.
Thank you.
That was the one though.